Hey guys, even though it's frosty, it's great to be outside because I've been spending many hours playing Avowed. Let's talk about it. Obsidian Entertainment is one of the best game developers in the industry. They have a revered reputation, and it's all earned. They are an incredible company. I love Fallout New Vegas. I thought The Outer Worlds was a blast. I'm looking forward to Outer Worlds 2. I adore Grounded, and there are a ton of other great titles that the studio has released. Avowed is their latest. It's being published by Xbox. There's been a lot of attention paid to this game because it kind of evokes the idea that Obsidian is making us an Elder Scrolls-like experience. The game does have echoes of that for sure, although it definitely doesn't sort of reach the heights and the expanse of something like Skyrim. It's more in keeping with the work of The Outer Worlds, which was a contained and really fun and very funny interstellar action role-playing experience. This time, of course, we've got medieval theming, we've got fantasy, we've got magic attacks, and all kinds of bladed weapons and bows and arrows, and there are guns in this game as well, but it's really about these fantasy D&D-like overtures, which are fun to dive into. And you play as this envoy, this godlike envoy that has these metaphysical disfigurements on them that sort of imbue the natural world across your makeup and your face, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can apply that in the character creation. But you come to this land, you've been ordered by the Empire to come to the Living Lands and to explore this plague that is happening called the Dream Scourge that is infecting and twisting people up and animals up in all kinds of weird ways. And so you scour the lands and you make all kinds of connections with the various townsfolk and the various people. You ally yourself with different characters as well, you know, warriors and dwarves and magic wielders and healers, and you go from adventure to adventure, figuring out the mystery and trying to solve what is behind this plague. Why are people going crazy?
Oh, finally a rescuer. I was beginning to lose my voice.
And you're also threatened by other military leaders and other zealots, and there is this whole sort of spiritual belief system built into the game, people praying to various gods, and you're trying to sort of unravel, peel back the onion of what exactly is going on. And I did dig the storytelling in the game. I enjoyed the conversation trees. I thought all of the performances were really solid as well. And there was a lot of nuance in there, great writing, as we can always expect in Obsidian software. But I have to tell you, as cool as the idea is and the package of Avowed is, I didn't have a ton of fun playing the game. I thought that the actual play of it was pretty mundane and mediocre. I was getting into real-time battles. I kind of defaulted to a wand and a grimoire, a book of spells, and I was just blasting all kinds of fire spells and lightning spells, all these elemental kind of spells that you can stack up, and you can get different books that open new levels, and you can keep augmenting your skill tree so that the effects get a lot cooler and bigger. But I just felt there was this innate repetition to everything, and I didn't feel like the feedback as a player was that enjoyable. I kept thinking about Immortals of Avium for some strange reason, which was kind of like this first-person shooter fused with a fantasy-type vibe, which was fast and fluid, and I was doling out all kinds of magical carnage in that game, and it was kind of fun to play. And this game kind of makes you want to have that freedom and that twitchy fun, but you don't really have that. It's kind of clunky. It's clunky in the play of it, switching between the weapons, drinking a health potion before your stats are whittled down. I felt like a lot of the enemies also were kind of spongy, and they were just taking attack after attack after attack. I didn't feel like I was really getting more powerful, even though I was leveling up and I was gaining all kinds of attributes. And when it came down to communicating and talking with the different characters that I have, the allies were definitely cool, but because I wasn't engrossed with the actual play, my thumbs on the sticks play of it, I was actually getting bored running into the same monsters and bad guys. And so I'd get into these conversations, and the thing that I kept thinking about was Dragon Age the Veilguard and how I was doing much the same thing. There was kind of spiritual overtones in that, and I was assembling a mini army that was going to fight back these crazy elven gods, and their escalation, and more importantly, the feedback that I got from the play of Dragon Age kept coming back into my mind, and I had just played that. And the other thing that's not playing well in Avowed's favor, for me at least, is that this has been an unbelievable year or so for role-playing games. Baldur's Gate 3, Metaphor ReFantazio, Final Fantasy 16, and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. And like at every scale, the role-playing games in the last little while have been phenomenal. And so Avowed just feels kind of mid. I mean, I hate to say it. I was so excited about this game coming, but I just felt like I was playing it and there was a tedium to it. There was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get into another encounter here. And often I'd get into, you pitch a tent and you have these sort of rest areas where you can get to know your allies a little bit better.
Perfect. Oh, this is going to be fun.
And everybody kept asking, so how you holding up? So how you, and I just felt like that's kind of how the game felt for me. How you holding up? And it just wasn't drawing me in. So spending the dozens and dozens of hours playing this thing, it was just like a kind of a chore. And sometimes the games can feel that. I also think that the way that we review role-playing games is kind of brutal. I think that if you are a huge Obsidian fan, you don't want to just like consume it all super quickly. You don't want to play 10 hours a day. You know, I think play a few hours a day. Let's stretch this out a little bit and you'll probably find it a little bit more fun. But I had a lot more fun playing Dragon Age the Veilguard and Metaphor ReFantazio and Final Fantasy VII and Mario and Luigi Brothership. There's just been so many great role-playing games, and so Avowed was, I hate to say it, a major kind of letdown for me. I think that this game is going to be very forgettable for me. Now, that is to say, though, I'm not a Pillars of Eternity super fan. I don't know the whole world. I don't know all of the world building that Obsidian has built around that. And I think they do a good job of bringing you into this game, and you don't have to know anything else. But I think if you do know that other world and you do already come into this experience with some of the background of, you know, what Obsidian was trying to pull together here, or if you just love these trees and these characters and there's some good sarcastic dialogue, some witty repartee. I just wasn't that impressed. And the characters also felt as well designed as they are and as well put together with the artistry that they have. They just feel a little stiff and they're just sort of hanging out.
Look alive, Ayako. The wind's blown us more Adiran company.
Stop. Take one more step and mark my words, I'll cut you down.
They're just hanging out. I felt a little bit like playing Starfield, but at least Starfield had way more ambition in its scope and its scale and all the different planets that you could travel to. It just needed to have more vitality, and the actual sort of play of the experience should have been more enjoyable. Definitely more enemy variety as well. I felt like I was seeing a lot of these mushrooms and giant bugs and these sort of infected zombie characters over and over again. I was also not that impressed with the environments themselves. They look pretty good. There's a lot of color in them and there are some cool structures and things. I did enjoy the verticality of being able to climb up on top of buildings and sometimes leap off of things into water and stuff. And swimming underwater was really nice. But I did feel like I was getting lost quite a bit in these environments. The pathing was a little unclear to me. And part of it, I think, is that there is so much color and detail, but maybe the defining sort of edging on stuff made things a little unclear. Now, you can use some of your ally powers to activate switches or to make elements in the environment disappear. You can also blast through walls with the ability to run and charge through things or use your fire effects and stuff. And so there's some interactivity in the environments, but I found them to be a little bit dry and a little bit confusing. And the other thing, too, is the mapping doesn't really correlate with how far you're supposed to run. And it's not a huge open world experience. It's like open areas that you're running into. And there are some areas that do feel quite large where you run from inside of a building or inside of a castle or something and you'll hit the open field and the open land, but you're also loading into different areas. And I just felt them all to be a little bit contained and not especially super focused or precise. And so I did find some times in the game where I was just like, what the hell am I doing? Where am I supposed to go? And some of the objectives and things like that on the map were a little bit unclear as well. You can go off and collect some bounties. You collect a bunch of loot and stuff. I did also find that a lot of the shopkeepers, I was needing those health potions, and a lot of the shopkeepers just would run out of stock, and I could never really stack up lots and lots of health potions, which kind of drove me crazy because sometimes you're in these battles with these spongy enemies, and it's just a lot of blasting them with fireballs and zapping them with lightning and stuff and sending your allies in to do some damage and stuff. But at the normal difficulty settings, I was having to go to those health potions quite often And that became a little bit frustrating, especially with the repetition, especially with seeing a lot of the same bad guys over and over again. And so I got through half of the game and I said, you know what, I'm gonna toggle this down to easy, and that became a lot more forgiving. So I think there might be some difficulty tuning that the developers will have to do with a patch or something. I'm anxious to hear what you guys think of this game. I mean, the great thing, and please let me know in the comments below, but the great thing is that, of course, this is part of Game Pass, and if you're a subscriber and you have an Xbox, you can just play it and see if it's for you. I've just played too many other great role-playing games recently, and I just felt like this was so sort of mid, and I'm sad to say that. I was really excited about this game, but I know I'm not going to be thinking about it. I'm finished, I'm walking away, I'm moving on to the next, and 2025 is going to be loaded with bangers. This one's just okay. It's not terrible, it's not horrible, there's some great work in here, but it's just okay. I'm going to give Avowed a 6.5 out of 10. Wasn't for me.